And then we...
All right, welcome back to the Why Delete podcast. My name's Evan. This episode, I'm here with Six Impala. They are a crew of producers, and we're going to go ahead and have them introduce themselves. So let's start with OMNI.
Hey, my name is OMNI. I'm a producer from New Jersey, and I've been producing for around 8 years.
Hey, my name is KaTT. I'm a producer from Toronto, Canada, and I've been producing for 9 years.
My name is DEVON. I'm 17 years old from the Bay Area. I've been producing for about 6 or 7 years, and I go by underscores.
My name is Script. I'm 21. Been producing for like 5-6 years for now.
This is SHIVAN. I'm 17. I live in France, and I've been producing for like 4 years.
My name's Helvetican. I'm 16 years old, live in Finland, and I've been producing for 3 or 4 years.
So how did Six Impalas start?
So this is actually interesting because we've all kind of sort of been a part of the same corner of the electronic scene for a long time. And I think a few of us have actually gone by different aliases and bounced around each other's messages box quite a few times. I'm pretty sure it started out when, Joel, I think it was you and I who were talking.
Yeah.
Like first, we started talking and we wanted to start working together because I didn't have anybody to share music with. And I started talking to JOA and I noticed we had similar tastes. So we would just spam each other with music. And then like from there, he started adding like NICO and...
Like we have this Facebook group chat where we should just share music. And then eventually we come out like, hey, we just, like work together, some kind of collective thing.
Yeah, it kind of started pretty casually, actually. And then it just kind of grew into something a lot bigger. And I'm actually really proud of how far it's gotten so far.
What year was that when you guys started?
We actually, like, we came together in 2016. That's when we like the group chat was formed and all of us were in there. And we didn't release until 2017. And our release project, the Beast I Worship, the Death Grips project, was like a real long overhaul.
Yeah,
it took us a very long time. Yeah.
How long?
I think what was it, like 6 months?
3 months, something like that.
10 months.
No, like 10 months. Damn.
10 months.
Yeah,
10 months.
We started in August.
Actually,
Yeah, because we had a lot of sending issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And reworks and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It took way longer than we thought it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember because it took so long because my PC actually broke and I had to rework
that's
the whole
true.
thing. I remember that.
Yeah. So his PC broke, and we actually didn't get to. It sucks because OMNI was the last member that we added to the group. I think the order is it was me, JOA, and then we added NICO, and then NICO wanted to add SHIVAN, and I hadn't heard of SHIVAN yet, and so I almost said no.
Yeah.
And then we added underscores, which was hype because I had just heard about him and he was crazy good. Devin, you're so fucking talented.
Oh, thank you.
And then we added James. I had known James. Deadass. I've known James for so long, since before Six Impala.
Yeah, we've had a long history together. Thick and thin. I've known Dan for a very long time. We've even worked together way before Six Impala was formed.
Yeah.
Why did you guys decide that this was the right time to group up and start a project together?
I think a lot of us were dealing with, at the time, like when we started, a lot of us were dealing with frustrations with things like labels and promoters and blogs, where we were wanting to be like our creative selves, but we also felt like we were constantly fighting this voice of like, nah, you got to make music this way, or you got to do things this way. And we didn't want that. So
yeah, I have a lot to say about like the music industry as a whole and how saturated it is with a lot of the sameness almost. There's a lot of good artists out there who can't seem to reach any sort of audience. A lot of the leaps and boundaries you have to make are kind of the same all around, and it's kind of sad to see a lot of really talented artists not reach that audience that they could potentially reach. So we formed this group as a method of kind of subverting that, you know.
I think it really gives us control over like our sound and where we go with what we're doing compared to before where we didn't really have too much control over that.
There's this sort of thing with labels and stuff. You make something and you think it's really good, you know, you're really excited about it. You send it to whatever manager, whatever, and they're like, nah, this is not actually what we want. You gotta make more of this. And you get really frustrated over that. They don't really want you to make the kind of music that you like. It's just what it sells. So that's really frustrating.
Yeah, it is really frustrating to know that there's a lot of really talented artists who can't seem to get an audience because you run to a label and they just tell you, oh yeah, your stuff is good, but it's not what we make. And that's the most popular labels are like that.
It doesn't fit our sound. It doesn't fit our sound.
Yeah, it really, really frustrates us when there's so many talented artists out there who can't reach that.
What was that?
I fucking bumped into my mic.
Are you fucking stupid?
Really cool.
Sample that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was hard.
Why delete sample pack?
It was hard.
Dan, thank you for an example of your sound design.
I mean, you're not wrong.
So speaking of sound design and production, how did you guys develop your style of art? Maybe I will start with SHIVAN since you haven't had a chance to say something.
I just happened to copy the shit out of NICO. And then, no, actually, yeah, he actually told me like many things on like how to synthesize sounds and like how to process them, because like before we actually like formed Six Impala, I was really inexperienced actually. So it's just like I went from 0 to 100 real quick, if that makes sense. And, and
I'm so happy you just said that.
And that's just how it happened. And then I just like kind of like developed my own sound through the time, and yeah.
How does that relate to the overall vision of the art on your guys' page?
Like, you mean like the sound, or like the actual visual style that we've come up with?
The sound.
The sound, okay. I think
we all have a unique oneness.
Yeah.
That we're all different producers. You know, don't get us. We're not the same producer, but we all can kind of fit around Six Impala as an aesthetic choice. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you know, the more we create, the more inspired we are to build around it. It's just so much fun to see like the next album art come up, you know, or the next single, and then look at its art and be like, oh man, I want to create something with visuals like that relate. And then it's inspired. It's a feedback loop of inspiration, which I really appreciate. It's
a big reason why when looking at the different samples and things that we could use to blend the project, the B-Side Worship project that we did, we took an insert from an interview that Death Grips had where they talked about their inspirations coming from an internal source. They didn't like to look outside for inspiration. And I think that sort of echoes a lot of what Six Impala represents. Like all of everything we're creating sort of feeds off of each other. Like all 5 of these guys are my biggest inspirations. And all of the music that I've been putting out recently has been inspired by their approach to writing, sound design, and just overall storytelling.
You know it, baby geeks.
What the hell was that?
And you know what I want when it all falls down. And you know what I want when it all falls down. And you know what I want when it all falls down. Hey. And you know what I want when it all falls down. Hey. All talk is overrated. Let's just vibe just for the night. I'll be yours if you want me to. I'll be yours if you want me to.
So fucking ADD, ADD. What I'm supposed to say, baby? Say, baby. If I go in my A, baby, don't blame me. Blame my fucking ADD, ADD.
Speaking of the, taking inspiration, the art itself, actually, I take a lot of inspiration. I don't even know if JOA knows this. I take a lot of inspiration from some of the things that JOA has made. Some of the things that he's made in his like visual projects, using text and images in a way that, like, their placement and like the collage aesthetic is super, like it just does a really good job conveying emotion in a unique way, I think.
And JOA, you recently changed from Suki to Helvetican. Can you tell us about why you made that change in your name?
So Helvetican is it's an idea that it comes from a T-shirt by this designer that I really like, and it really resonates with me because I basically look and think about everything through design, and Helvetica is the best font that there will ever be, and I will fight you for that.
Hot take.
And I like Helvetica a lot, and it looks good, and Helvetica is the only good font, and Helvetican is basically just saying that that's like my identity. And it sounds a lot better than Tsuki, and I don't like Tsuki.
I mean, Tsuki is really,
why not?
really damn old.
I think it's a bit boring and like generic, almost like forgettable. And
You just insulted a lot of Tsukis out there.
Yeah, I know. if your name sounds like mine, fuck you. It sucks.
Hell yeah.
Chop that.
Chill out.
No, keep that shit in.
Yeah, that's what Six Impala is about. Fuck you.
But seriously though, man, I think that's probably the coolest part about this, is that it's basically a big fuck you to everybody who's tried to control us, honestly, because like all of us, like I can myself, I can say I've sent in easily over 30 things to just one specific blog, and to have them continuously tell me like, this is awesome, but it doesn't fit our sound. Like, fuck you, you don't have a sound.
Yeah, and it's really easy to pass us off as like, you know, we're just complaining because we don't get that kind of revenue, or we don't get that kind of adship or viewership. But it's not that none of us are talented. That can't be the case. You know, when 6 incredibly talented individuals get together and form a group, you know something's wrong. You know.
Do you feel like there's any other artists outside of Six Impala that have that same kind of vision for things and have a similar frustration?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Are we okay? Really quickly, are we talking about artists that really fit into the Six Impala aesthetic, or are we just talking about artists in general who are really talented who aren't like?
I guess in terms of like the mentality you guys have.
Like if you talk to any underground artist on SoundCloud, they will all tell you that they have this frustration with levels.
Yeah.
So that they're really generic and stuff, then can fit levels and stuff. But they all tell you, you know, I can't approach to people, I can't approach to group of people. They have this frustration with that.
Yeah, it's a lot of there's a lot of artists out there who are well deserving of, you know, viewership and that kind of like exposure that aren't getting it. I could point out like a bunch right off the bat. We've had a lot of longtime friends, like Avalon is doing really good. Avalon really fits that aesthetic. And again, it's just we're first and foremost, outside of being just 6 producers, we're also a community, you know.
I'm actually going to give a quick little shout out to just like a list of producers that I think are worth noting within our corner. And this isn't to knock anybody else that isn't on this list, because there's like a ton of people that there's too many to name.
Too many to name.
But if I did have to pick a select few, hold on, I've actually got like a list here. I keep lists everywhere. Hold up. Okay. So we've already mentioned Avalon, previously Zena, Roxas, Clark, Night Punk for sure, KaTT, Clink. Clink is somebody that has Clink is recently blown up.
Yeah.
Clink is
Onumi's really good too. She's super new. She takes such a she has such a fresh approach to writing.
Definitely.
Shout out Oni.
Shout out Oni 13.
Shout out.
I want to give a quick shout out to the best independent artist right now. The best independent
artist. That's me, guys.
Osno One, Laura Les.
Yes, Osno One.
Big shout
My
out.
favorite producer of all time.
Osno One, Laura Les is the best independent artist. Out right now.
Oh yeah.
Send me
Shit,
I'm
link me,
actually
boy. Link me later.
Stuff, dude.
See that, and I think that's kind of a good example of like what our conversations are like. One of us says, "Oh, this person's fucking awesome," and we go, "Wow, we've never heard of them." Send it over, and then it's sometimes it's bigger people. Sometimes it's somebody with like 50 followers, and they just have such a unique approach to writing that.
Yeah, and also another not to digress, but another thing that kind of shapes who we are is definitely that level of finding artists who just don't give a shit. You know, it's like we don't care too much about the status quo of electronic music in general. We just push the sound, and that's there are no limits when you do that.
I think that kind of like if you're gonna look maybe at like our past like 3 releases on Six Impala, it kind of shows like how we're not really following like a certain particular sound that we need everyone to kind of conform to. So we have this pop track that I put out with this Bay Area group called Just Another Crew. We have this like crazy like dubstep track that could get in like all these other mixes or whatever from OMNI called Platinum Dice. And we have this rap track from Front Royal produced by KaTT. And it's like, I think it just shows like even if we were just going to take like the past 3 releases, like we're trying to really like we're kind of inherently diversifying by taking in ideas that might not be as easily taken by, you know, bigger labels.
Yeah. And that's a challenge in and of itself to put something out there that is not so easily spread because of how different the ideas are. And, you know, a note to all labels and promoters that, you know, you don't have to conform to the sound that everyone's going for to be good, you know? In fact, I think it's good that it's a challenge to get our stuff out there. It shows that, you know, we're really passionate about what we do. And there's something really important to keep that passion, you know, enveloped in Six Impala's aesthetic and style.
And I think it's also important to say that, like, it's not contrived either. It's not like we're going, all right, what's the weirdest thing we can make next to put out for the sake of being different than what's trendy? It's us just creating freely and putting that out as it is. And I think that's really awesome.
It's rare that we ever say no to a project.
I don't think I've ever said no to anything. Even when we made the changes in the B-side worship, we made changes. They weren't ever like, this is bad, we need to stop this. It was more of like, hey, let's see if we can fit something that'll fit the flow of the story a little bit better in this part, and then save that for something else in the future.
Yeah, if you notice, a lot of our stuff is a lot of our major projects are story driven, subtly. I think it's important to keep that sort of what's it called? Keep that sort of consistency, because somewhere out there, someone will notice.
Who do you want to notice your music?
I don't
Brain
think
Feeder.
really.
Feeder.
I don't think.
Shout out Brain Feeder.
We all have personal goals with Six Impala.
Yeah.
But I think as a whole, we don't really care. We just make and release, and I think it's good to have that.
Probably it will be good to get attention from other producers that are not like kind of struggling with this. They just come join us and they're like, yo,
Yeah.
we're just saying
The goal of a lot of other labels is to catch the eyes of larger producers, but we want to catch the eyes of producers who are incredibly talented and struggling, rather than the I don't care if the next big artist plays out our track, more than I care that someone who's really passionate about the music finds us and is inspired by what we do.
I think generally just making shit is the most important thing for me, and putting it out and presenting it in a way that like people can resonate with is really important to me. And I don't really know if I want anyone to specifically notice us. I don't think that's what I'm like looking for personally with Six Impala. I just want to make shit that people might like.
I think it's fair to say we want to reach our audience. We care about the audience, the group of people who are going to approach us, and not fans. I don't like saying fans. I think that we're building this community around this attitude and this approach to releasing and writing music in this scene that attracts people who are interested in that kind of thing. And those are the people we care about, the people who are day in and day out having conversations with us, listening to our music, even if they're making stupid memes about our releases, like with Platinum Dice. Even stuff like that. That is the audience we want to reach. Because at the end of the day, Six Impala is where we belong. It's where we feel like we get to control what goes on, and we get to be truly who we are as artists.
On the other side. inside.
You mentioned the community aspect. Can you talk a little bit about how you guys use Patreon and Discord?
Oh yeah. Is that a microphone?
What was that?
Yo, that's hot.
Okay.
It's my space heater acting up.
Yo, Joel, turn that into something.
I will. In a minute.
So we use a combination of Patreon and Discord to really pull in our core audience. So again, that group of people who really listen to our content and are wanting to talk to us and wanting to share music with us, even if it's something that they've made. And that's not even exclusive to musicians either. That's visual artists and musicians alike, be them like Photoshop artists or
I think a good word to use is creators.
Yeah, that's true. And we use these tools to again reinforce that power of community. It gives us all of our funds come from the community, and they're directly funding the project and its advancement instead of us having to cater to things like right now what's really popular is Spotify playlists, and those are effectively like modern day promoters because your audience is most active on Spotify, and playlists are the fastest way to get that audience's attention. But you have these gatekeepers, and again, that's what we've really struggled with, because gatekeepers, so these people who are like promoters, etc., they block creativity to such an extent that a lot of the content that gets the attention of the audience is very similar, and that's super annoying. So by running a Patreon and running our Discord and building our community that way, it gives us the power to deal with those gatekeepers telling us no. If we want to approach them and be like, hey, you have a playlist, here's a song, can you throw our song in that playlist? And they go, your synth's a little too quiet,
Your
so that's a no.
synths are too quiet.
Oh
so it's
man,
no.
I feel that. It's heavy.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
So
Fucking
it's frustrating.
Jesus.
And it's a climb, but it's a climb as a community. And I'm really proud of how far it's come along.
So, Omni, you've been around in the scene for a while. Can you tell us a little bit about your history as a producer, where you started?
He's just losing it.
No, he actually can.
Oh man, I'm trying so hard, and you guys are making it so hard not to talk about it. There's an elephant in the room. Yeah, I love you guys too. It's okay. Well, I guess I'll address the elephant in the room. Is that I actually grew a lot of my fan base. You know what? I'm not gonna screw you guys. I'm not giving you the satisfaction. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna talk about something else. Okay. To answer your question, I have been around for a long time. I've been producing since I was at least 13, and like.
I'm messaging him here.
Damn it! I can't focus.
I'm talking with him in the background.
I know he's like DMing me like, oh yeah, say this, say that. No, okay. Anyways, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Can you repeat the question?
Can you tell us a little bit about your history and when you started producing in the original community that you were part of?
I've been producing since I was 13. I started really young, and I started at a time when I didn't really have an identity. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. So Six Impala as a whole kind of like resonates with the young me that started producing. But anyways, I started pretty early. I was hugely influenced by The Prodigy and a lot of big beat producers, a lot of trance records at the time. It's just stuff that my brother had shown me when I was a kid. He has a lot to do with what I make today. Yeah, and I found my way through a lot of communities, and I've been able to break through to a lot of different people, a lot of young, rebellious kids who kind of felt that modern day music is essentially the same thing recycled over and over again, and that there's a new age of producers. There's a new age of kids coming up, and I feel like I was one of those kids who came up in the internet age of producing, before it really struck the mainstream. And I've had a lot of experience in working in that sort of like in this new uncharted territory, where we just put music online without any sort of filter, no contracts, no labels, entirely self-taught. There's a lot of people like that, and I'm really proud that that's where I grew up. That's the kind of the era that I came out of, was this just these group of kids who just decided to put stuff online, and it didn't matter what it was about. The content didn't matter. The important thing was that we were passionate. We just all we cared about what we put out. And you just didn't, when you're given a massive amount of like funds to make a project and you're not passionate about it, it's sad. And that's kind of where the world was going. It was just a lot of the sameness, a lot of the same artists. You go on the radio, you hear the same artists. I know all about them, but I want to know about the next generation of kids who are coming up. So that's kind of that's where I came up and about. Oh, also, I was a brony, and also I made a theme song for PewDiePie. Okay, but don't include that. I just want to say that to get their friggin' jitters out. Okay, I was. That's the thing, as I was. Yeah, not but
now. All jokes aside, without it, I wouldn't be making music
honestly,
the way that I'm making music.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have been. You're a massive influence on so many people, and that's an important thing.
All right. So for a very brief moment, I'll talk about that. My biggest scene that I kind of rose through was the brony music scene, and it was a couple things. It was very interesting to be the young, kind of just a kid, making music about probably the most important subject, or like the most silly subject, which is My Little Pony. It's so stupid, on the surface, but inside I didn't really care. I just made music for it because it was fun. Like, it was literally just fun. It was just passion, and that I think that scene grew into something so much bigger on the inside. You hear a lot about it on the outside, and if you're an outsider and you don't really know about the scene behind brony music, it's a long and arduous history of like a lot of really good producers who came up and are making their own careers now. I'm not gonna list any names, but I was one of those people. And I guess, not to be like, I don't want to like make myself sound like some sort of amazing person, but I suppose, that passion that I had really helped a lot of other artists rise up. And that means so much more to me than I can actually explain in words. Like, I think even though I've moved on from that community, I definitely did my job in that community to inspire other kids to become amazing artists today. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Yeah, it sounds like a similar goal to your project now with Six Impala, kind of having an inspiration or being an inspiration for people that are starting.
Yeah, and it's the viewership doesn't really matter. It doesn't. I don't care if we get we will be the same people, if we get 1 million views per song. I mean, our formula will probably change and we'll be a lot more professional. But even now,
I think it's pretty professional right now. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think too. But I'm talking like.
What are you saying? Are you taking a knock at me?
No. No. I'm not saying anything about like our aesthetic or anything that needs to be changed. I'm saying that we're definitely going to be like, we're going to have like, I don't know, if we can reach like 1 million views, like we're going to have a lot of business.
We would have a lot of funds, and it would give us.
Yeah, it would give us so much more ability to create.
I think what James is saying is right. Is we'll always still be the same people making music that we want to make.
Yeah, the passion will never change. That's what started this project, and it's sad to see a lot of other projects, break down because they lose that passion. And I never want Six Impala to lose the passion of just six goofuses, going at it.
Just going at it, dude.
Just
rebranding.
Going at it.
Rebranding now, it's just six goofus.
It's a six goofus.
That's a brand.
Oh, six goofus.
Yeah, we can go on forever about it, but that's just the whole. It's just passion and fun. We like to have fun. That's just, you can't make music. You can't make good music if you're not having fun doing it.
Exactly.
So maybe that would be a good time to tie in underscores. You have a few tracks that you know as being part of a school project, and I wanted to ask you about those projects and what were you specifically assigned to do, and what did you learn from those projects?
Yeah, so I was in an applied music theory class, and we were asked to do a midterm project and a final project. So for the midterm project, it was to, I don't know, it was a year ago. I think it was to take a song that already exists, and then I think it was solo over it using your instrument. So I took Joshua by Miles Davis and then kind of turned it into like a funk thing. And then kind of went off for 3 minutes. It wasn't a production class. I kind of just got kind of sucked into it and decided to be a little extra. And then the last one was, the final project was an original composition using what we had learned. So that was like what scales you could use to solo over a certain chord progression or secondary dominance, all of like the pretty in-depth like music theory stuff. So I made Whoop Whoop, which was using an acapella from Calabria. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, that one.
Wait, actually
in the background.
Yeah, and everyone in that class made some really cool stuff. So that was really interesting to see. And I'm pretty proud of that song.
So Shivan, I wanted to ask about your approach to sound design and if you had any tips for people starting out with producing.
So I think I'm the worst person to ask that in the first place. But because I don't really know how to like teach sound design to others. But like when it comes to, I mean, on the technical approach, but like usually when I want to make a sound, I just want to make the most interesting sound I can, like all the time, and I always try to make something different because
I think it could be said that like Shivan has some of the craziest sound design I've ever heard in music ever.
Yeah, I think all of the different members here, I think, bring something different to the table that just sort of helps glue us all together in such a way. Like you got on one end you have Shivan, okay, and he's making crazy fucking leads like ISMA. Your sound design is nuts.
Thank you.
It's so nuts. It's like the future. Like I don't even think people are ready for it. Like that's like it's the future. No, and then on the other hand, you got
people are ready for it.
Like not that I don't think I've ever asked anybody else if they're like trained the way that Devon's trained with instrumentation, but then you've got like Underscores on the other hand who's got such a strong grasp on like traditional approaches to writing music with like the newfound ability to write and produce in a modern fashion, and it blends all together really nicely. And I think the other thing too that kind of ties into like where we're looking at going in the future, because we have all kinds of cool ideas with the label and where to push it. JOA or Helvetican, his ability to mix music is fucking nuts, and his ability to read what will be popular in like coming art styles in general, not even just music, is nuts. I know, like last week we were having a discussion about what he wanted to do for a cover art for an upcoming track, and in that discussion he talked about the ugly yellow of a construction vest, and then like right, like you were talking about it, and then what gets dropped like right after, like OKRA gets dropped by Tyler Creator. What the fuck is that guy wearing in the video? A damn construction vest. And I was like, man, Joa is so ahead of the curve. He's so good at reading what's like tasteful.
I actually want to say something about that, because we never told you, Joa, but like sometimes I hit up Devon and I'm saying, yo, actually, Joa scares me, dude. He's like fucking way ahead of us.
I know. That's actually a thing, yeah.
I also like. I personally say that when I actually copy Shua so much, like I see what shit he's listening to.
Yeah.
Because like I end up listening to it like 9 months later, and it's like fucking crazy.
I check Joe's likes all the time on SoundCloud.
That will be big, you know. We never told you that, but we would tell you that.
I need to use SoundCloud more. I've been on a Spotify grind.
You should make playlists.
True, actually true.
I want to do curated playlists, but I don't know if Dan wants me to do that yet. I'm just gonna try to put them in my.
You should be in charge of solely that. Yeah.
I want to do that.
Are we having like a legit Six Impala meeting right now?
Sorry. Are we starting? Yeah. Like, do you want me to pull out the list? Like, are we doing this?
Yeah, we're constantly working, as you can see.
Yeah. We've got tons of ideas, and it's about excuse me. It's about like gradually approaching that list. Like you can't jump into it all at once and expect to be able to succeed at it. We're slowly but truly growing this community in all kinds of different directions, and we're super excited about what's to come for sure.
Yeah, as far as like upcoming releases, do you guys want to talk about anything that you have coming that's planned?
Devon, do you want to talk about?
Can we talk about our next like big project?
Yeah.
So like the Death Grips project we put out called the Beast of Worship, we're working on one for the Higher Brothers, which is this Chinese rap group. It's 4 people. I think earlier, maybe it was at the end of 2017, Team Supreme did a cypher and dropped like 6 acapellas from the Higher Brothers album. And then we like a lot of us got really inspired to like make remixes using those acapellas. So we just thought, hey, why don't
Shadow 88 Rising.
Shadow 88 Rising, yeah. So we all thought like it might just be a cool idea to make this another big project that we all chip in. And I'm going to be curating it this time. Dan curated it last time, but Dan's going to help me out with mixing and mastering and all that. And I'm really excited to finally get it done because these are some of the more arduous projects to work out just because it's 6 people. We all got to send in stems and work out like the subs and all that. So
yeah, these projects are hardcore.
What goes into that? Like, how do you? What's the starting place when you have
you want
an
to know
idea
our
for one of
path?
those?
We literally go, okay, we pick the artist and we go, okay, everybody go make something because it's too hard to just like direct it. Okay, you make this and you make that. Everybody go make something.
Yeah, I'm sure in the perfect world there's like a perfect way to do this, but we don't. We're just that anything. See, the problem with direction and directing something is that you're limiting it.
Yeah, and that goes against what we stand for.
Yeah, we literally just give you the most. We get like Dan will give me the most, or Dan will give us the most normal like phrase, like here you go, make it, and then we make it, and then a few months later, thing pops up.
Yeah, but like that's how that works for us, like it's kind of random and like casual, but it works, so we keep doing it.
It's fun.
It's fun.
I think it's interesting. They keep saying Dan goes do this, and then we do it. I know. I really want to take this time to highlight. Like, I do understand. I would consider myself head of management, but we do this as a team. I don't dictate.
I'm the boss. Anyways.
I don't dictate any of them. I don't say you have to do this, you've got to do this, etc. I always we come up with these rule sets that we have just to make sure that we're productive, but I always make sure I check with every single one of the members to make sure that they're okay with that direction. And I always make sure I tell Devin, specifically Devin _ is really good at getting on me about making sure I'm following our moral code. He's like, okay, but does this follow what we represent? And every single time, I always encourage him, keep asking me that. Even if you feel like you're annoying, I want to be questioned on that. Because if I'm not being questioned on it, maybe someday I don't realize I'm doing something that goes against what we stand for. And I don't want that. Above anything else, I don't want that.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing to say about Six Impala is that, yeah, we're all individually, different. But as a collective, we're free. It's there's a strange twist of irony, but it's also kind of beautiful and an art in its own form that we can, on our own, we have our own limitations, but together we can make anything happen. And I think that's hard to find. Now it's incredibly hard to find in a label or a collective or whatever you want to call it. It's you don't see it.
And
so
to kind of rope back to the big remix projects that we do. I try to do exactly that. I try to give everybody as much creative freedom as possible because I've learned, especially from working with, and this kind of ties in, working with visual artists a lot that I've commissioned for previous works. Like for my Opus project, I've commissioned, shout out Mike Chung for drawing all those flowers for me. He's super good at it. But I always gave that guy so much creative freedom. And artists flourish when you give them the freedom to make what they want. So with these Opus remixes or these big remixes that we do, I keep calling it Opus remixes. These big remixes that we do, I give them all creative freedom. We take everything that we've got made, we take it all back. We look at it all, and whoever's directing will sit down and go, okay, this fits here, this fits here, this fits here. They'll blend everything together, and then maybe make suggestions based on people's talents. Like, for example, in the B-side worship, we originally had 5 hard part. Oh God, we had 5 hard parts. Yeah, okay. We had 5 like really hard aggressive parts, and it felt like it wasn't right. Like it felt like the story sounded like 5 separate sections instead of a big cohesive piece. So I approached Devin and I said, "Look, Devin, is there any way we could do something that's a little softer?" And then he came up with the idea. I think Devin, was it you who picked Birds?
Because I was looking for the one Death Grip song with an actual melody.
So then he went and recorded himself playing a a version of the Birds melody on a piano, and we threw that in, and then I mixed it in with the original too, and it just flowed so well. And again, that's not limitation. There was no limiting in that whole scenario. It was me or us recognizing that there was a way for us to utilize our strengths to make something even cooler, and I think that worked out really well.
Alpha, alpha, alfabeto, au, 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 a. Alpha, alpha, alfabeto, rapapapapapa. Alpha, alpha, alfabeto, ia, 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 ia. Alpha, alpha, alfabeto, ia, 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 e, i. E, i, a, a, rapapapa, a. A, a. Ia, 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 a. Fumo, fumo e rido, ha 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 ha. Ride, ha 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 ha. Alfa, alfa, alfabeto, a a a a a. Rari, ram. Scotta. Sudo, bevo, passo e letto, ha 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 ha. Mia mamma mi crede pazzo, ha 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 ha. Canto, la 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 la. Sto indicando con il dito, la 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 la. La schiaffeggio mentre ride, ha 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 ha. Mangio caramelle, na. Africa bombino, passo, non mi piace questa tipa, na. Voglio la tipa del tipo, sì, l'ho già lasciata incinta, ai. Parla.
stick to the plan, that's the goal. Fuck these niggas, man, that's for sure. Say, Uno the Uno the shoe, look like a flat, what the fuck you do? Gon' be the set, no more ass. Like when I touch between you for your neck, give a fuck about you. All you respect, yeah, that ways with your accolades. When I make the cut like a pack of blades, you could call me brush, I'm making waves. Fantastic things cause it had to fade, but that's really true. I'm really warm, my trying in my blood, nigga, what's up? Never spit with the dream in my cup. stick to the plan, that's the goal. Fuck these niggas, man, that's for sure. Check. Uno the shit.
And you mentioned your Opus project. Is that something that you'll bring back eventually?
So I started that I think I started that in 2016 of June. So previously I was just releasing singles regularly. Ivory, Fiend, Fang, etc. Just a normal way that music would go out. And that was through labels and collectives, etc. Shout out Caps Lock Crew. And then, so after that, I actually took a year off because I was dealing with some personal things. And during that time, I really developed a way of writing that was expressive and not just like, hey, let's make an EDM trap banger and throw it out and throw lyrics on top of it. Like I was starting to write with my emotions, and I felt like I needed to start a project to kind of envelope all that together. So I started the Opus project, and it was supposed to be a 100-track project, and it turned into a 15-track project that I stopped short just because of how happy I was with the success of Six Impala, and I was really passionate about the different directions I could take, or we could take it as a group, if I dedicated more time to it, because the Opus project took a lot of my time up. There's 15 songs up right now, and I'm not sure if I'll ever return to it the same way, but I know I'll definitely explore the world again. So it won't be 100 tracks, but I know I will definitely one day come back and bring that sound back.
Also, I want to add, because I think I can speak for all of us when I say that Dan is one of the most hardworking individuals I've ever met in the industry right now. Like, I don't think I've ever met a person who's more dedicated to the passion and the art in like all the best ways. Like I've seen, sometimes I'll get a glimpse of what Dan does, like on his, like, you know, like when he's working for Six Impala, but the technical stuff, like you see, everyone sees the artsy side, but no one credits, you know, him for the just how technical and specific and how dedicated you are. One of the finest details I want to point out, and I think this speaks so much, is that I think you mentioned, or you revealed to me one day that you look up who listens to our songs the most.
Yeah, top listeners every week.
Yeah, top listeners every week, and you'll send them like free content and like, you know, little messages of thank yous. I've never ever heard of anyone putting that much dedication and passion to our you know, followers and people who respect us. And I just want to say, from all of us, thank you, Dan, for
Shut up, Nico.
being so passionate about this project.
Okay.
Just Nico, shut up. But I think, again, on a serious note, Dan, you've done so much for us, and I know we're all a bunch of crazy kids with a lot of crazy passions. So again, I thank you for working with us and making our passions a reality.
Look, I'm just appreciative that you guys let me do my own thing, and I think that kind of speaks a lot about our relationship.
Hey man, we wouldn't let you if you weren't good at what you do.
I appreciate that.
Dad Impala.
That's Twitter. That's my Twitter tag. It's Dad.
It's literally
he's the Impala. Oh, Dad Impala. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. You know that Impala we keep talking about.
Okay.
He is the Impala. We just
We don't have the lore yet. It's not ready.
So how can people connect with you guys? Is Discord the best place for people just finding your page now to connect with you?
I'd say yes.
I would say so. Yeah. Discord. The team behind Discord is probably like the best team in social media right now, in my opinion. They're sort of, if I'm not mistaken, they're sort of like an indie dev sized team, and they're just like on the ball with everything in terms of like updates and new things being added to the service like constantly. And it's just ridiculous how good they are. They deserve, if you guys aren't a Nitro, like if you don't pay for Discord on a monthly subscription, and you can, I highly recommend it, because they're always listening and they're always trying to push the the message of their what like their program means, that this community building tool, they're building a community around this tool and around all those separate communities, and they really deserve the push. Like, I was using Skype before. Like, I know Skype was the big contact tool for everybody, to talk to people behind doors or in private, in a private manner, but still have it be easy to access others. A lot of people were using Skype to message each other and video chat each other, etc. But I don't know what happened, but Skype just stopped updating, and they have no features that are helpful, and it runs like shit. And
They stopped updating good, and they started updating
they started
awful.
adding like ads and shit. Like, it updated
Yeah,
with
they
other
started
apps and all kinds of other garbage. Like,
They decided to change their, instead of updating things that were actually issues, they just updated the way it looked. And I'm like,
yeah, it was awful. Like,
dudes,
it's
come on.
been so long, and Skype. I mean, I said SoundCloud because SoundCloud also runs like shit. Shout out SoundCloud. But Skype still doesn't have a deafen tool. It doesn't have a deafen tool. If I want to shut Nico up in the middle of a call because he is mumbling in my ear,
What? I'm not.
I can do that.
Oh my God.
He's whispering you sweet nothings.
I can deafen it. I can say, fuck you, Nico.
Okay. I'm a Kevin.
Or mute him.
Tell us about Newgrounds.
All right. Yeah. So Dan, Dan and I both stem from another community, which I sadly forgot to mention earlier. But I'll bring it up now. I think, we were talking about different tools to kind of expand our community. One of the earliest tools I used to kind of jump into the scene was Newgrounds. And for those of you who don't know, Newgrounds is an ancient website.
Ancient. It still functions.
It's still functions, but I mean, it's not like it's been around for a long time, since the late 90s, I think. And it was a platform with, it kind of started the same way Six Impalas started, with that passion to just create content. And, in the early ages of the internet, it could have been
1995.
1995.
I know, I thought it was like 98 or 99, but not 95.
No, 95.
Right smack in the middle.
So again, you like right then and there, Newgrounds was like one of the original like content places to put your content. And albeit I wasn't like I wasn't making music in 95. I wasn't even born yet, but it was one of the platforms that really got me started. And I think I could say that for a lot of artists today. Dan and I specifically, but also, if you go back far enough, you'll find that Space Laces and Andromulus. There's a lot of crazy artists that spawned from Newgrounds, and it had a lot to do with kind of how we came up. Dan, you can talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. So Newgrounds was again, it's like James said. It was this place to share content. It was one of the first websites, if not the first, to like enable like music streaming and video streaming for animators. So you just had this huge community of artists who were just starting out, and it gave them a platform to share and communicate and grow. And it's crazy to see even just the animation world on YouTube alone. The channels and videos that are racking up millions and millions of plays are almost all influenced by the era of Newgrounds.
And I'd even go as far as to say that Newgrounds still today is a great resource to find underground artists who are just trying to break out. Because if you're a big time artist, you're not uploading on Newgrounds. But if you're a passionate artist, you are. And you can think of you could think of the music industry as an unsolved Rubik's Cube.
What are you talking about?
That's an inside joke.
What are you talking about?
No, let me finish my analogy. You can think of the music industry as an unsolved Rubik's Cube.
No.
And you can think of Newgrounds as the force that pushes it off the desk, and then when it hits the ground, it solves itself. So then and then you fly to New Jersey.
What the fuck? Shut up.
You get us?
No. It's a reference to one of my comments on my account on Newgrounds on the phone. I was young. I was stupid. No, it's pretty wild to look at that community too, because there's lots of musicians in that. Like, I know off the top of my head, Paragon X9 has created so many good songs on Newgrounds. That's where I found them anyways. They might have been uploaded somewhere else before. I don't think so. But they're like old drum and bass songs that have blown up and have like millions of plays if you look them up on YouTube.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, actually, that's also how I found XCore. XCore was also an original Newgrounds artist.
Matt Cavender. Yeah, shout out Matt Cavender, right?
Matt Cavender, shout out.
Matt Cavender, you're fucking dead, dude. Get it? Get it?
Good.
Yeah, there was.
Oh man,
there was some kind of story about like a remix of a NICO song with Dan and I.
Oh yeah, true. You can talk about
so
it.
Basically, like NICO released a song, so Dad, in late 2016.
It's a good song,
and we wanted to actually remix it, and so we basically asked for it and gave us the stems, and
yeah, we emailed them and he just hit us up with stems for it.
You got fucking mad salty.
I got so pissed because listen, the guy sends me the stem, okay, and XCore, fuck you. The man sends me the stem, okay. He sends ISMA the stem. It's a synth and the sub in the same stem, and his subs, if you've ever listened to an XCore song, they go up to like 400, 500 hertz. So I have to gut the shit out of the synth to get to separate them. But you can still hear like the higher tone of the sub, and I get it. That's his approach to writing. But he didn't separate them. So while I was working on the song, Isma sent me what he worked on, and then I was just getting so heated because it sounded like garbage. It sounded like a bootleg no matter what I did. And I worked on that song for 2 months straight.
Look, I know we're roasting you, Matt, but also quick shout out to your fucking awesome whooshy sound effect.
True.
Yeah, the whoosh, that's like the coolest sound effect I've ever heard in like music. And you somehow, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you did a lot of things you did. You fucking
and the
crazy
stabs, the stabs videos. The stabs
view.
Those are so good. Those are so good.
Oh my god!
Are
you really gonna go there? You're really gonna go there? Are you really gonna go there? Oh my god!
Speaking of,
I love that. Oh my god! I wish I could post pictures in this interview. Oh man, yeah, no, I think. Okay, all right. Really, I love you, Matt. But fucking Jesus Christ, your music video for Stabs is probably the most ugly thing I've ever seen. And it's I don't know how you got an animator you did a music video for Nero, right? It was in Nero. Yeah, it was Nero. I think it was Nero. Yeah, he got an animator who did a music video for Nero to work on this video. But I guess he must have had like a week to work on it because I don't know. It's like I wish there was a full length feature film that I could I wish you turned it into a feature film. But like Jesus Christ, man, it's so bad. I love the song, but I swear to God, dude, whoever paid that animator paid him like nothing to like work on it. That's for sure.
I had to go rewatch the Stabs music video because
it fucking sucks. Period.
I actually like.
Nico, what the fuck?
It's actually good. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Nico just came out of nowhere.
No, the Stabs music video is sick. I love it, dude. This is sick.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, man.
I love your music. And like I think there is something to be said about the passion and the quality of, all of our projects. Is that there's definitely things we want to do, and there's definitely things that we can do.
No,
but there's also things that we're not going to compromise for art. We're never going to compromise.
We're not afraid to tell each other like this sounds like garbage or this looks like shit. We'll do it, and that's important.
Okay, but like pause. XCore Stabs official video kind of fire.
I mean,
watch 9 months from now, we're all going to be watching the video. Like, man,
Yeah,
this is so
honestly,
great.
Shout out Disney dubstep remixers in the world. Yes.
oh my god! Oh my
Don't talk about
Lord.
yourself.
Hey, shout out SoundCloud NIGHTCORE,
Yeah.
Never Die.
True.
NIGHTCORE is bomb.
What the hell?
And next,
Shout out to the new NIGHTCORE scene that's been really killing it at the rave.
Yeah.
Like,
I'll still like get angry at people that make money off it, but like it's really a vibe. Like I like it a lot.
Trapaholics Mixtapes.
yeah, what? Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, no wait, yeah, yeah, okay. I'm like, yeah, whoa, yeah, 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 whoa, yeah, okay, yeah. You did like fuck her in a Bentley. I'm gon' name my daughter Billy. Hopping out with semi-automatic and that bitch is deadly. On your market, set go ready, set go be on my friends ready. Ayy, hoodie on, no shake my hand, me and my niggas not friendly. Ayy, and I hopping out, I mean you drinks just like I'm Freddy. Ayy, in the kitchen with the pirates just like spaghetti. Ayy, hopping out a blue Bugatti, switch the leaf for Henny. Ayy, top a slimmer motherfucker out just like a tinny. I ride PC and Supreme. I ride True Religion jeans, Louis V. Ride a YSL, Louis Vuitton my feet. Chopper with a beam for the money scheme. I'm like, yeah, what? Yeah, no wait, yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. You did.
Joa, can you tell us about some of your inspirations visually and
Visually, I like movies a lot. Cinema is important to me. I think it's really cool. Recently, I've been thinking a lot about Japan, and some of my favorite depictions of Japan in cinema is Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void, and also the Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, which actually has a lot of like really cool on location film stuff. Like the way it depicts Tokyo is, it's not the best movie because it's like, you know, Hollywood. It's still Fast and the Furious, even though it's not the main series. But like, a lot of that movie is just filmed on location in Japan, and it's like genuinely quite pretty. It has really good colors, and I like it just because of that. But visual inspirations, big shout out to Joe, Kikujo.
True. Yo,
an artist. One of my favorite visual artists. I love his photography. I love his drawings. I think he's incredibly talented. I really like fashion designers. I really enjoy Denma Garcia, who's in charge of Vetements and Balenciaga right now. Is one of my favorite designers. He, like, I feel like his approach to designing fashion is like very counterculture. Like, it's almost like he's a troll. And I think that's really interesting because he makes really, like, he designs high fashion clothing, but it's almost like it's a joke. Like, it's very self-aware. And I enjoy art like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Joe did the artwork for our banner and everything, so I'm also a huge fan of his stuff. Love his stuff.
A few things on my end that I'm anticipating. A little crazy things are happening in the world of in my little world. Y'all can expect a Ray Volpe collab in the near future.
A Ray Volpe
alongside
collab, a Ray Volpe collab.
Yeah, he does not like being called Ray Volpe to the extent where he'll like
Volpetron 9000.
Shout out Volpetron 9000. But no, yeah, you can expect a Ray Volpe collab in the near future. A candy collab. A candy collab. Shout out to Cavity Crew and Cavity Collective, and a Pierce collab as well. Those are the things that are very close to completion and reaching their peaks. So I'm really excited to start pushing some crazy stuff. There's tons of other stuffs in the works, but nothing too solid to talk about. But yeah, those three definitely look out for.
Sweet. Well, thank you guys for stopping by.
Before we sign off, brothers, I did want to give a shout out to just like a couple people.
Go for it, man.
First, I want to shout out Valentine. He's been a huge help with a lot of our growth and a lot of like just helping me understand like how like things like Spotify work and distribution work and stuff like that. I want to give a shout out to Johnny Hash, the guy who runs Night Owl. He's really good too to go to for advice. If you don't know what Night Owl Collective is, you should go check out Night Owl Collective. They're really awesome. They just put out
JORJA 3 Volume 3.
Yeah,
It's finished.
I also want to give a shout out to iTech. He's a Toronto-based DJ. He's been super helpful, a mentor really for me on how to perform and how to use proper equipment and how to go about properly structuring my sets and all that stuff. He's been a real big help. And then lastly, thank you, Evan, for giving us the opportunity to talk today.
Of course, man. You're welcome. If you didn't realize, these guys are from all over the world, so it's really impressive to have them all in one call. And I love what you guys do, and I'm so glad that we can have you on and keep doing your guys' thing, man.
Thank you so much.
Also, really quick, I want to give a shout out, last minute shout out.
You just shout outs left and right.
I want to give a last minute shout out to Nightpunk for being one of the most influential producers that is just killing it. Moved out all the way from Georgia, the country. In where is Georgia? It's near Russia.
I want to give a shout out to. Can I give a shout out?
Yeah, go ahead.
But I'm gonna give it.
I'd like to give a shout out to Script.
Come on, dude.
Yeah.
No. I want to give a shout out to why you the lead for the interview.
Oh, thank you, man.
Yeah, shout out to
Evan.
Well, thank you guys for stopping by. If you guys want to connect with Six Impala, all their links will be in the description on SoundCloud, so check them out. Follow, subscribe, like, rate,
give my
comment.
coordinates.
Like and share.
Shut up. Shut up.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Shut up. This is the
What the hell was that?